Hello, my name is Alison Werner, and I am the chief editor of Orthodontic Products. With the COVID-19 pandemic consuming the country, it's causing all of us to take stock of our personal and professional lives. More than ever, medical professionals across the United States are becoming more concerned about estate planning and living wills. With that in mind, we thought it would be good to talk to an expert about what orthodontists should be considering with regard to their private practices. Joining me today is Samantha Weyrauch Davis, an attorney at the national law firm Hill Estelle and certified public accountant. Based at the firm's Oklahoma offices, she concentrates her practice in the areas of estate planning, estate and trust administration, guardianship, and taxation. She also helps clients with succession planning for family businesses. Samantha, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time as well. And certainly in these challenging times of COVID-19 and the pandemic, estate planning can, and for many people is on the forefront of their minds to make sure that them and their loved ones are taken care of. And this would certainly include medical professions, orthodontists, those types of persons, high-risk individuals who are really, in many respects, on the front lines. And making sure that their estate plans are in order, and not only for, like I said, themselves, but also for protection of their families. So there's been certainly an increase in my practice of calls from those in the medical profession, either establishing new plans, revisiting older plans, or plans that have been, what I'll say, in more mid-stride, and clients that are wanting to get these plans completed over the finish line. They're re-engaging and ready to proceed in many cases, with the COVID-19 being such a motivating factor with everything we're seeing and hearing, and people thinking, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my family?
Is there ever, when should someone set up an estate plan? Are you ever too old or too young?
No, you are never too old or too, well, certainly you need to be over the age of majority just to have legal documents in place. Right. But no, I mean, it truly, estate planning runs just the gamut of age, and the extent of the estate planning certainly varies considerably, whether you're young or older, the types of assets you may have, that type of thing, the types of businesses. So here, for example, orthodontic practices, those types of things, succession planning is really important. So depending on where you are, I would say, in your journey of life, if you will, makes a big difference in how the estate plan is structured. But there's no one rule that once you hit a certain age, then it's time, or if I'm over a certain age, that means something different.
Okay. So let's talk specifically about the experience of orthodontists who own private practices. What should they have in place?
So I work with a lot of physician clients, and something that's an important part of the estate plan is the practice. And typical questions is, well, what happens to my practice if I'm incapacitated, I can't work anymore, or if I'm not living, what does that mean? What does that mean if I have partners, and what does that mean for them? And so really making sure your corporate documents are in a good place, where they need to be updated, and certainly carrying out the vision of what happens to the practice. Is it sold? Is there some type of buy-sell arrangement? These types of things. But these can be tough issues to work with, or work through rather, with clients. But it's so important to have plans made. Like I said, not only upon incapacity, but also if there was a death. And then what happens to that practice, and what are the next steps? So that certainly is an important piece of an estate plan.
Okay. What about those orthodontists who already have a living will or estate plan in place? Should they be doing anything right now, or are they all set?
It's so important to have an estate plan up to date. So making sure not only it still fits your family, that I have many clients that They haven't looked at it in a few years, life changes, relationships change. So making sure the plan still fits the circumstances, still fits the family, and also still fits within the parameters of the tax laws. There have been many law changes in estate planning over the many years, and certainly that's a moving target with future tax changes, whatever they may be. So making sure all of that is coordinated and in a good place. I would say a good rule of thumb, can be every year or every other year, but there's no steadfast rule. And certainly if there's a family change, circumstance change, tax law change, it's time to look at the plan and see what needs to be done. And it may very well be just fine, but I counsel my clients, it's a really important check-in process just to make sure everything is in a good place.
Okay. How has COVID-19 affected how you consult with clients?
Right. Well, I have, actually, I had a client today saying, when do you think we'll be able to meet in your office? And, during these times, most of us, myself included, are working rather remotely. So a combination of conference calls, video calls, email, back and forth consultations, and working through and discussing the issues. So that has been going on to work through either, like I said, establishing the estate plan or updating it, but those types of what I would say modes of communication. And then when it comes to actually signing documents when they're ready, that presents some other challenges in this time because of social distancing and things we're supposed to be doing, and how we comply with laws on witness requirements for documents, notary requirements for documents. So that requires some creativity when it comes to execution of documents. And I would say the same thing with regard to medical practices. If we have to update bylaws or operating agreements for LLCs, those types of things, and making sure they're properly acknowledged where they need to be. And it just gets a bit creative on how we gather, but of course, still being mindful of what we need to do to protect ourselves and each other, which, can mean meeting outside, staying 6 feet apart, and these types of things. So it's a new world when it comes to executing documents. But I would say at the same time, it's critically important to make sure that any document like this is executed validly. So with proper witnesses when they're needed, with notaries, to make sure your documents are in good legal effect with proper execution.
Okay. Well, I think this is all valuable information for our audience. Thank you so much for being with me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. And I'd like to say thank you to our audience for joining us. Remember to visit orthodonticproductsonline.com for the latest orthodontic industry news. Until next time, take care and be safe.